When you think of ancient Egypt, you probably think of mummies and pyramids. In this episode, we take a look at the timeless Egyptians. We'll learn about their strong military and try to glean insight into their training in order to better apply it to our own.
This is Ancient Workouts with me, Omar Isuf. In each episode, we examine the culture of one ancient group of warriors and try to apply aspects of their training, nutrition, and mentality into our own exercise routines. How do you stack up against these legendary warriors? Let's find out.
The Egyptian kingdoms were around for quite some time, one of the oldest in antiquity. The primary eras were the Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, and New Kingdom. Something many people don't know is that it wasn't really until the New Kingdom that Egypt became really an imperialist state, annexing territory outside of their borders and influencing the area around it. This is probably because Egypt had a very solid natural boundary due to the Sahara Desert, and there wasn't really a need to expand or defend against intruders. But if you want to expand, you need an army. An Egyptian soldier's life could be extremely boring, especially if you're stationed at one of the many forts that protected ancient Egyptian borders. There wasn't a lot of people invading. These forts often never saw action or would not be involved in action for months or years at a time. I'm not saying I want to get invaded. I'm just saying that 3 years, no action is kind of boring, you know? I mean, yeah, they invade and maybe I could die. But I mean, it would be more fun than just standing here day after day with not a lot going on. It was during this period that warfare was constant and the professional army arose, consisting of regular troops and the infamous chariots you've probably heard about. Charioteers were trained fighters who were typically men of wealthy means who provided their own equipment. The Egyptians modified the Hyksos chariot to make it lighter, faster, and more maneuverable. A chariot would have one driver up front and the archer in the back. The Egyptians also learned about a composite bow from the Hyksos, which shot much further distances, at over 600 feet sometimes, and could kill many enemies at a long distance. The Egyptian army trained on different types of weapons, including this bow, along with other weapons like short swords. Egyptian warriors wouldn't wear armor, typically relying on a shield instead. In times of conquest, the pharaoh would separate his army into two different divisions, upper and lower, which is basically south and north. And then they would divide it further into 4 more divisions, which is very cool, named after Egyptian gods: Ra, Amen, Ta, Seth. Chariots were typically used to carry skilled archers who could then fire long distances with precision while on the move. Let's think about this for a second. This would be incredibly difficult because chariots had no shock absorbers. The balance would be key for archers, and their training would have involved exercises around staying centered and strengthening balance in the midst of this chaos, conflict, and a real rocky road. If you've ever driven in a car without suspension, it'd be like that, but a lot worse because it's moving and you have to aim at probably another moving target. That's serious hand-eye coordination.
Hey Omar, catch!
Looks like I'm ready for war. In terms of diet, ancient Egyptian soldiers primarily ate fruit, vegetables, meat, and cakes sweetened with honey. They were given generous rations of roast grain, beef, and wine each day. Soldiers had much more variety in their diets than most Egyptians. One piece of information that leaps out at me, and that is the balance required for archers on a moving chariot while firing at a specific target. It would be incredibly difficult. We have a good idea of the end state they reached, and with our modern knowledge of exercise science, we can make an educated guess about how they could have gotten there. We know their battles were won mainly by archers, shooting composite bows from chariots, and we know from surviving examples what those chariots were like, and it's easy to see how they would have been very unstable to fire from. We also know from the recorded feats of individual pharaohs that their bows must have been extremely strong, requiring tremendous upper body strength, particularly for the back. You're pulling back like so, holding for an isometric, so that's your lats, traps, rhomboids, biceps. That will require some serious strength. How would we incorporate this into our training? We've seen a plethora of gym exercises that attempt to replicate instability and perform more functional movements. Is this actually a useful tool set for the average lifter, or potentially a disaster waiting to happen? We have a fantastic expert here to educate us further. Thanks for joining us.
It's so great to be here. I think the most common misconception about ancient Egyptian culture is that the pharaoh wielded absolute power and everyone in ancient Egypt was subject to his whims or her whims occasionally. When in fact, all ancient Egyptians, the king included, were beholden to the rule of law, what the ancient Egyptians called ma'at, which is essentially truth, justice, and cosmic order. And even the king was expected to abide by that principle. Based on tomb illustrations, we have a surprising amount of information of how ancient Egyptian soldiers trained. We see them lifting bags filled with sand for strength training. We see quite a lot of running and endurance training. We also see wrestling. There is a Middle Kingdom tomb in Beni Hassan that has over 100 different wrestling holds, and the ancient Egyptians of the New Kingdom also practiced fencing. So in addition to weight training and running, we know that the ancient Egyptians trained with weapons in preparation for battle. The chariotry arm of the ancient Egyptian military required a remarkable amount of coordination between men and animals. And to think about 2 stallions harnessed to a lightweight vehicle, hurtling over a desert surface up to 35 miles per hour, and then maneuvering and allowing the charioteer to shoot arrows into the enemy force. It's just amazing. This would have taken a tremendous amount of practice and training for both the men and the horses.
Using the information we have, we've developed an amazing routine for you to mimic some of the aspects of Egyptian warriors. The first movement, it's going to be 3 exercises, would be the Palloff press, which focuses on core stability and rigidity, so resisting rotation, which we can see once again would be relevant on a chariot. Number 2 would be the Bulgarian split squat. That's unilateral, so single leg. We're focusing once again on balance, coordination, and using that lower body. Lastly, number 3, the heavy incline barbell bench press. That's more for javelins, throwing movements. It's more upper body, pec, shoulder, tricep, and if you want to do an exciting ancient warrior challenge, then we got to work up to a single on that heavy incline bench press at 90%, so something we can do and hopefully hit a PR. Modern warriors, let's get after it. This movement is the Palloff press, a fantastic core movement. It's anti-rotation. Get a band, wrap it around a rack, walk out till you feel that tension, pull, involving your obliques, and from here, you're gonna be punching in and out, maintaining that tension. Think about what the Egyptians had to do, being on a chariot, holding a bow. It'd be very difficult. So this kind of mimics certain aspects of that. Rotate out, core tight, bring it in, and then out. And you'll feel that pull towards the rack, but you want to resist it and punch straight. This movement is the Bulgarian split squat, a single leg movement that is fantastic for developing coordination, being dynamic, being aware of your body. It works your legs, your adductors, abductors, your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes. Think about the Egyptians on those chariots requiring balance and coordination. What you want to do is find a bench, stand up, move one foot back, have it resting back like so, get into a position that's comfortable, arms upright like so, legs straight, and from here, you'll go down to comfortable depth doing the prescribed repetitions. Let's get after this. This movement is the low incline bench press, a fantastic upper body movement. Chest, shoulders, triceps. Think what the Egyptians had to do, the throwing, all the spears, upper body movements. What we want to do today is work up to a heavy single. That's our ancient warrior challenge. Now check this out. I warmed up before this, and you should too. Start with the bar, do a lot of repetitions, get some blood flow going, and then gradually around 90% of your 1 rep max. If you don't know what that means, that's okay. Just something that's difficult, strenuous, but you can do it. Practice safe form, bring it down to your chest, and let's get after this. Shout out to the homie Ramses II. As you can see, it was difficult but manageable, and that's what I mean. I probably could have done 1 or 2 more reps. That's around 90% of your 1 rep max. The ancient Egyptians left a rich cultural history behind them. We might not know the exact details as to how the warriors trained, but we learned enough to further our own goals. Thanks for watching. May you achieve all of your goals, and let me know in the comment section below what culture of ancient warriors you'd like to see me explore next. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time on Ancient Warriors.